So Darian, why don't you tell us about the our brand story and like how it's evolved?
Okay, so really we kind of fell into copywriting, which was what we started before we were like more full on marketing. And that came from us, I would say, failing pretty spectacularly with a soap and candle business.
I don't know how it's like failing. We
Well, I mean, everything's a learning experience. So I don't like the word fail. But
no,
if
I
you
don't mean from that kind of woo woo crap. I mean like it's not. I don't necessarily consider it failing because yes, we spent a lot of money. Yes, we lost money, but we sold the business. You know, we it was a good learning experience, and to top it off, I think there were certainly possibilities. There was promise. We just happened
yeah,
to try to sell um, scent products online without giving samples, without
it
so
makes it very
it
hard.
was difficult. But we had consistent orders from some people around the nation. We had
We had at least one fanatical fan, to be honest, who even months, maybe even a year after we sold the business, was emailing me asking what the recipes were, like how can she can get a hold of it, because we had one oil-based face cream that I'd made,
mhm.
and I used it, and I loved what it did for me. And she said it was the only thing that kept her acne away. She had tried everything, and our product was the only thing, and it was like 3 ingredients, like
Yeah,
coconut oil and I don't even remember anymore, goat's milk and something else.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so I mean I think we did a really good job creating it. I just think we had no idea what we were doing then.
yeah. Like so, I wouldn't. That's the reason why I don't wouldn't say failed spectacularly. Because I feel like that is like when you completely crash and burn. You make
Mm-hmm.
$0. You don't go in front of anybody. You don't go to trade shows. We went to one or two.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It did pretty well.
yeah, I mean all things considered.
Maybe, and we just really didn't have the time. Like what we needed to do was scale fairly quickly and get into stores and wholesale. And both of us working more than full time hours on top of this business, and with a little bitty baby boy. He was what, 18 months
Yeah,
by
something
then?
like that.
So small. Like we just did not have the bandwidth to do what we needed to do to make it something big.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know, but there, like we were saying, I mean, there's lessons to be learned, and there's things that are pros. I think we learned what life is like from a product based business standpoint. We learned about manufacturing, about cost of manufacturing, about shopping around. There wasn't there like a yellow pigment that you were like, yeah, Julio, I need this yellow pigment.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be like $500 per ounce. And I like literally did like 3 seconds of Google searching and found like $11 per ounce.
Yeah, like really stuff today I would just like shake my head and be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But it was all brand new to us then.
Of course, yeah. So you just
And
kind of, yeah, it's all,
the first thing I found I thought was the only thing available instead of doing quick searches. Like there were so many mistakes, so many ridiculous mistakes.
yeah,
But we learned like a ridiculous amount as well. And it's what helped us kind of fall into copywriting, which is writing. I mean, for both of us, writing has always been a passion.
mm-hmm.
So when we started that business, and I joined a course right away, trying
Right.
to make it everything we could, and I joined a community, and in that community most people had a lot of trouble writing, and that's one thing like I did not have a problem with. So we started helping out for free, and then we started to charge a little bit the busier we got, and for a long time I think we held off acknowledging the fact that this was making us more money than soaps and candles were.
Yeah. Well, we were trying to still make that the primary business. And I still think that we definitely could have, but,
Mhm.
I think like you were saying, like we needed more time. I needed a job that was more understanding of, not granted, that kind of job is very far and in between, but what I was doing, I was working 12, 14, 16 hour days consistently
Yeah.
all the time. There were times when it would be like I would go over six, I think, what was it, like almost 90 days or something like that. I can't
Oh
remember
my
exactly
God.
now, but it was like basically 14-hour days every single day with zero break, no exceptions, and that's not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
So like
By
Would-
yourself, no less, for a large
Yeah.
majority of the time.
pretty much by myself trying to operate
An
you know
entire furniture store.
yeah, I mean there was a lot of things that didn't allow us to do what we wanted to do, but as I mentioned, I mean, it ended up helping us in the long run, right? It's kind of one of those. I don't like to use the phrase "everything happens for a reason" because I'm not necessarily one that holds on to that to be true. But because I think the universe is chaotic. I don't think there's any, in my personal humble opinion, that there's some sort of spectacular reasoning for why I was pulling those kind of hours and days and things like that. I think there's something like I took from it and I benefited from and I brought it to this business, but I'm not sure there was some grand master plan that I was supposed to, check mark these boxes on. But that's not really neither here nor there.
I have an opinion. I have a woo-woo opinion about it. I don't know if there's some higher, grander power. I don't know about any of that. And I don't necessarily want to state any one belief system or anything like that here. But I have found, for me personally, whenever things happen, it is happening for whatever happens after is a benefit to me. And like very recently, we can talk about this later too, is something happened that I was like, this is bad. This is a very bad thing happening right now. I'm having a very hard time dealing with this. I don't know what I'm going to do. And it turns out to be something, it's like a blessing in disguise, right? It's an opportunity. And I think especially in times, and I've experienced that too, like those very long days that you went through working by yourself, adversity, all of that. I've experienced that in my own ways throughout my active duty military career and in various other things. And I think it's only made me a better person and made me have better work ethic and be more understanding of other people. Like I try to keep in mind, like, if this feels hard right now, it's probably going to benefit me. So I just need to write it out and see what happens next. And I won't say that applies to every situation, because there are certainly situations that I'm recalling in our lives where I'm just like, I don't see the benefit of this. This is just hard and this hurts. But for less like tragic things, for things that are just like everyday life and stress, I do think like just hold on and wait it out and see what happens, because in the end, it's probably going to benefit or it's going to provide something for you that's good.
Yeah. Well, and so the tragedy aspect of it is the reason why I don't necessarily believe in that particular saying.
Yeah.
I think there are hardships that can happen that you can then take and make your own.
Mm-hmm.
That you can take the result and say, you know what, how can I fix this? What can I do that will help, my circumstance, or help this circumstance not to happen to other people or to other children or whatever, right? But coming from a foster home, now I granted I was they were like my legal guardians, the people I call my parents, but they were also foster parents. And so I had, over the course of, since I was like probably 11, I think, to 18 when I moved out, when we got married, there's probably 30 plus, 40 plus kids, maybe more, that have gone in and out of the house. When I left, there were like up to 10 kids at one point living in the house.
Yeah.
Bunk beds on top of bunk beds, basically. But the whole point to that was that I was privy, not to everything, but to some of the stories, things that they told me themselves, or things that my parents said, hey, make sure you watch what you say with this, or make sure you don't do this because things have happened. And they gave me some, not everything, of course, they didn't give me like case files or whatever, but they were just like, hey, we want to make sure that you're safe, that everyone else is safe, so if you see this kind of situation arise, make sure you take, you handle it, or you tell us, or whatever, right? So in that, I learned just tons of things. I remember taking care, this was me at like 14, staying up at night, taking care of the youngest we ever had, which was a baby, right? And the mother was was basically shooting up heroin and stuff, like up till she got to the hospital. So like the baby was just like, was going through withdrawals, right? And that's not even the craziest thing. I mean, you can go online and just look at, not that you would, but it's a thing, right? Like birth defects and things, like horrific stuff. The child will die in 24 hours and they're just in extreme agonizing pain. Like It's like a 99.99% chance it's going to happen. And it's just like, that's the kind of stuff that I'm just like, No, not everything happens for a reason.
And
But
yeah,
there are some things that you can do to say, okay, like as an example, maybe I could take that experience and I can say, I'm going to now be a pediatrician.
mhm,
I'm going to work in the what is that, NICU, NICU, for the
Mhm.
babies, newborn, right? Like, I'm going to do something for myself to better the world because this experience happened. But again, I wouldn't say, haha, her going through all those withdrawals made me, somehow that's a benefit to me. It's like, no, that just sucked for her. And then I took that on myself to make the world a better place.
yeah.
At least that's how I view it. And not everybody has to view it that way, but that's just me in my humble opinion.
Right. And I think everybody's shaped by their own personal experiences, and I've never had to witness or go through something like that. So that's shaped my personal outlook, is like, oh, I've had a very, I wouldn't say easy, but definitely fortunate life. So for me, it feels like things that happen, they can happen for a reason as far as like the benefit, but I would never ever tell somebody like, you went through such pain and it's for a reason. Like, I would never try to help them deal with it my way.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's your personal experience, and I would never try to put my beliefs on anybody, because I think that's also a very personal journey.
Right. Well, and I'm sure it goes into the idea of you trying to help, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like it's a malicious thing. It's just that's what some people say, and I can respect that and I can appreciate that. And, if anything were to ever happen, to us, to our son, to you, something like, and somebody said that to me, like, I'm not gonna try to choke them out or anything. I'll just be like, okay, thank you. And like, I'm gonna live in my world.
Right.
I'm gonna be, have my pain, and then hopefully from there I can, I'll take whatever I can to, not stay at rock bottom, not drink myself to death, and just rise up to the occasion. If it was in a car accident or something, okay, now I'm going to start running for some sort of legislative body to change the laws when it comes to drinking and driving. I don't know, whatever it is. It could have also just been an accident. It just is what it is. There's not a lot I can do except try to move on, and next time try to be a better, husband, or be a better father, or be a better me, human, whatever. I don't know. Like, there's still ways you can try to just be a better person from a negative experience. But that's, I don't know.
Right. But those experiences, right, our personal experiences have helped us be not just better people, but better business owners for sure.
Yeah.
And that first experience of the stress and the heartache and the pain and the money lost and all of that was like the first step.
Sure.
In building what we have now and going through that, and not just us having success, but us understanding where other people are in their success and in their journey, and being like, look, we know what you're going through right now. We know how hard this is. You're in learning phase.
Right.
And yeah, learning phase feels like a lot of wasted time and effort and money, and like you're stuck and like you're not going to make it. You don't even know what to do. You can't even see the light at the end of the tunnel yet.
Right.
But it's the beginning.
Sure.
And that's where everybody starts.
Yeah.
And that you will see the light. Consistency, sticking with it. That, I think I heard that advice from Josh Stanton, like right in the beginning of when we were starting like DNC copywriting, before it became DNC marketing, is something like, and I think he got this from somebody else, but it's something like the person who makes it in the end is the one who stuck it out the longest. Right? There could be the most brilliant people in the room, the most gifted, skilled, financially well off, people with all the resources have the advantage over you. But if you stick it out the longest, you win. Because if they burn out, they may like hit the ground running really fast, have everything they need, and face no adversity. Therefore, they have no motivation to stay with it, no investment in the hard work that they've put in. So maybe they burn out and they don't stick it out. But you're there at the end. Yeah. You're at the top. You're the one people will remember. And that stuck with me. And so that was my motivation. Like, no, this is hard, but I'm going to learn. I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to take on criticism and feedback. We're going to make this happen.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good mentality to have. I think, I don't know, it's also a bit silly to also to make it seem like there is nothing in regards to the gifts of life. I mean, you can have even a decent work ethic and still make it. It just depends on where you started out from, right? Like if we're talking about that, using that kind of race analogy, it's like some people, they start much closer to the finish line than others. Yeah. Whether you say that's fair or not fair, say la vie, whatever, that's fine. It's just, it's not. I'd be remiss to not say that there is an element of luck, that there is an element of just call it what you want, but for lack of better wording, like of blessings that come your way, that you're in the right place at the right time. Now, whether you think that was all mental, that you made it happen by thinking about it, or you, I don't know, whatever. The point is, or that God himself or, herself or whatever you're saying, like put this person in front of you to tell you about this podcast that you can do an interview on. And that's what started your career, because that was step one, and you didn't have anybody to do a podcast with in the beginning, and you were searching, and, like however you want to think about it in your own way. Like, I think it's a nice thought to think like, if I just stick this out, it'll work out.
Right.
And I think there is something to be said about consistency and building. But you also need to be able to pivot, and you need to be able to figure out what's working and what's not working. Not all of us can go for bankruptcy 17 times and then end up, becoming president.
Right. And full transparency, like I could not have done this on my own. Like I may have started these things taking on the majority of the work, but I was never doing it by myself. You were always there to help me, and you've always had a vision that's much bigger than mine. And then when you came on full time at DNC and took the brunt of everything that we do, it just transformed everything. And we have, and again, just the two of us, we've never done anything just the two of us either. We've always been involved in courses and communities and had gotten feedback outside of us.
Right.
And I think that's very important. Sticking it out on your own will only get you so far. There is a point where you need to get a third-party opinion on what you're doing. You need to get somebody who's more experienced and further along in the journey to help you see the things you can't see, understand the things you don't yet understand. Sure.
Well, and in some respect, you have to, of course you have to do that, but you also need to be able to have that a little bit of self-sufficiency, because, you just go to YouTube and type in like businesses Shark Tank missed or something like that, and it's like you can find some things. The Shark Tank, the show on NBC, I think it is, with all the investment angel investors, basically Mark Cuban and all them, for them to say, "Now we're going to pass, no thank you," excuse me, and then that person ended up building a multi-million or almost multi-billion-dollar company. That they definitely should have tried to get in on, but it didn't happen.
Right.
So I think there's something to be said about it. Well, and then again, it is still Shark Tank, right? It's still being seen by a couple million people, on a weekly basis. So
there are other
even when you get
involved.
Rejected, you still are getting publicity.
Right. We've seen that. We've gone to websites where the Shark Tank very quickly was like, no, everybody's out. But then those video clips are still posted on that business's website as publicity. And I'm sure it helped them.
Sure.
But they were told no. So
but they still got 100,000 people into their website traffic, within the first week of launch.
Mm-hmm.
And before they were getting 10 people a month on their website traffic. Nobody was doing anything. They hadn't even done, paid ads or anything like that yet. And so things like that, they suddenly grow 50,000 followers out of just, what I'm saying? Like, it definitely happens. So, like, there's some benefit to that. The Shark Tank effect, I guess, is what you can call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so to kind of continue on with the message of the brand, Oh, and by the way, if you hear noisy vehicles, that's just unfortunately how life is. I'll try to reduce that post.
Yeah, we live around a lot of motorcycles and some zealous lawnmowers.
They have a mind of their own.
Yeah.
We're pretty sure that they have some sort of targeting on our house, to where anytime we're trying to set up mics, they're like, let's screw up their lives.
Yeah, I mean, you guys don't even know. Recording video has just been a nightmare trying to time it in between all the noise that happens in our neighborhood.
Yep. But is what it is. It's the only way we can do this.
That's right. We push through. You figure it out.
go.
You find a way.
Okay, so
Oh, we didn't even keep going. We'll wait for them to drive off. But yeah, started with soap and candles.
then moved to copywriting.
Then copy because we were helping people write. And as we like refined our craft, because like we've both been fiction writers, poetry writers, very little nonfiction, but it's not, even the nonfiction we've written hasn't been related to sales copy. So like after we spent some time refining that and getting some additional training and getting a mentor, basically, I had a mentor for a little while as well. We realized that this is a thing that we're really good at. This is a thing that can take us somewhere. And so we sold the soap business. Well, I won't name it because somebody else bought it. But
free publicity. Call it the DNC effect.
That's
instead of
right.
the Shark Tank effect.
Well, let's see. Wild Texas Soaps and Candles.
Bam.
Yeah, you can
Check
go and
'em
check them out. Beautiful, amazing soap. We gave them all our recipes and everything, and I would totally buy from them. I'm gonna go search it now.
Are they even a thing?
I looked at them not too long ago. I think, well, maybe like a few months to a year ago, and they were still trying to work some things out. They weren't yet open for sales, but maybe shoot them a message and be like, "Hey, I want to buy your amazing stuff," because it really is. It is amazing. It helped our son's eczema anyway. So
yeah.
But yeah, then we formed DNC Copywriting and really amped up everything we were doing. And then when you came on board full time, I think is when we decided to make it DNC Marketing.
Yeah.
Because you brought in your sales, corporate sales know-how and everything. We started to incorporate funnels because by that time we were both very familiar with, the ins and outs of online marketing as it worked for us in DNC Copywriting. So why not offer all of the services that we now know how to do very well?
Right.
And even now we're expanding our coaching programs where we redid the course. We're adding a masterclass. Like we are always expanding and creating new things that people are asking for and that we see a need for.
Yeah. So, I mean, once you establish your brand, you need to start thinking about brand expansion.
Mm-hmm.
Create that general umbrella, and then like, what else can we do? What else can we do? What can we put our hands in?
Right.
Podcasting.
Cohesion is so important with this, though. What I've seen is that people, they get to this point where they're like, okay, great, I know how to do this one thing really well. I'm going to add more things, but they just don't make sense together.
Yeah.
We know a business individual who runs a jewelry business and a website auditing business and a sort of advertising business on top of that. And like, they're involved in several different things, and none of it's cohesive. They're all different businesses, which is great. It's totally doable, but that is hard. You are now running 3 businesses, and if you have a very small team or it's just you, we're so busy with DNC, I can't even imagine running 3 separate businesses right now without our growing team.
Yeah, if you don't keep it cohesive and you decide to do the separate businesses, the problem with that, which I mean, obviously there's some benefit to that, right? Yeah. It's like diversifying your portfolio.
Right,
You're like, hey, I'm going to put a little bit in energies. I'm going to put a little bit in, the stock index. I'm going to, whatever. Like, I'm going to do this, and that. And that's great. Because if one tanks, you have 2 others to back you up. And then you can try to figure out why that tanked and kind of rebrand from there or whatever the case is. Hey, sorry. Camera cut off on us. I guess we have the AC off because we didn't want any additional background noise. I think maybe it just got a little too hot in here.
Yeah.
But I think the long and short of what I was trying to get at is just that I agree with what you were saying in terms of what were you saying?
Creating a brand.
Oh yeah. So
umbrella.
You need an umbrella, cohesion, and all that because you end up 3 different companies posting 3 different things with social media and stuff, and it's crazy.
Right.
There's already one brand is already a lot, right? Especially if you're posting consistently, you're emailing your lists consistently. I mean, that is so much.
Everything's
work.
A full-time job in and of itself.
Right.
If you're doing it to the utmost with a team, like I can't imagine running 3 businesses right now. And for sure, when we get to the point where we're going to be adding on more businesses, because we do have plans to add on businesses outside of the marketing industry, we will have full teams for each business.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that's gonna cover brand. Is that about right?
Yeah.
Just kind of talk about our journey with the brand and little tidbits along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is everything.
So with that, we wanted to talk a little bit about our upcoming masterclass. We will be. My lips got a little too close together.
I wonder how we're going to transcribe that. Is that 7 B's?
8 B's,
8
please.
B's, okay.
Thank you. We will be going over branding and business, and this really is kind of a journey in brand and how you can take it and from the beginning, if you woke up yesterday, and we're going to have some prerequisite videos because there are certain things that we want you to have in place, some beginner things that we don't want you to have to pay for to be in a masterclass about when you can find that information. So we're going to give that stuff to you. But then after the fact, we want to help you level up your brand and basically take you back to basics.
Yeah.
And if you are experiencing a lack of conversions, if you just can't nail your copy and your message, if there are holes and gaps in your funnel that you just can't figure out and you're seeing drop-offs or tons of traffic but nobody's buying, can't figure out where the traffic is, why aren't people coming to your site, because when they do, they buy. All of these things have to do with the brand and the business from a foundational level. So our upcoming masterclass will be covering a lot of those different aspects. And if you sign up with our email list, we can give you a whole lot of information about it, including some tidbits and some takeaways that are completely free to help you get a really good head start on making some progress.
Exactly. And we're hosting multiple master classes in the very near future. So, because we might touch a little bit on, for example, if we're talking about the branding, we might touch a little bit on funneling, things like that, but then we'll have an actual email marketing and funnel masterclass where we go real deep into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is about the end of it for this podcast, and we hope y'all enjoyed listening, and we'll talk to you later.
We would appreciate your feedback and your review on iTunes as well.
Yep. Make sure to do that.
So go to DNC Marketing on iTunes. Leave us a review. Let us know how we're doing so that we can make this better for you and give you some really great value.
There you go. All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.